All right. Enough waiting. I know. I'm late. I apologize. Got a lot going on today. 4 hours of sleep, so trying to get it all done. But welcome in tonight to the Rocked On Detroit Lions Off the Cuff podcast. We're going to be talking a little preseason matchup. And to be honest with you, I really didn't even want to do this one because it's just not. I feel like the NFL's kind of taken the luster out of preseason games. I don't know how you guys feel, but I feel like the preseason hype is, I mean, it was great for the first week. It's okay for the second week, but now, going into the third week here, and I just feel like, you already know what's going to happen, right? No Lions are going to play, that are starters. And I don't know, just kind of takes the air out of it. Like, I'm just ready, like, push it to week one. Let's just roll. Let's just get it going. I guess that's where I'm at. Let me get the chat open. I can't even see the chat right now. One sec. So you guys tell me, have you guys kind of lost what's that song from Top Gun? That love and feeling. Have you lost that love and feeling for the preseason? I feel like I have. I don't know. I'd rather just get it rolling and, let's just get 18 games on the docket so we can skip this week and get all in it. So anyway, we had an excellent show this morning. I can't thank Derek enough at all 22 films. So nice high and low level overview. He provided a lot of great information. And matter of fact, I got, a few messages today. We've got the member chat open on Voxer and hearing what people say there and other people that have reached out. It's been even on Twitter, there's some other messages happening there too that people are saying they feel more at ease. Hold on, I got to plug in my phone. I want to get you guys calling in tonight. It doesn't look like we have a big crowd yet tonight. We probably won't today. No one's excited about this. People feel like, they feel more at ease. Hearing it from, a guy that does a really solid job, knows a lot about the offense. Oh, boy, look at that. We got a couple of more upgrades today, or are those from earlier? I'm not sure why. Have I got the wrong chat open? It's telling me that we got Michael Garrity upgraded. I thought he did that earlier today. And Roger Ilowski joined. He did that a few days ago. That's weird. Maybe it's because it's using the same settings on YouTube. But anyway, back to what I was saying. That a lot of Lions fans now that listened this morning. We had a lot of people listening. There's over 20-ish people in there, at one time that were listening and interacting. They feel more at ease after listening to some of his breakdowns. And I took and clipped, a few segments today to post them. One about the DBs, which should be coming out soon. And then, another one about the hardest question. I felt like he only asked one question today. It was all about him. But the question, how do Lions fans feel right now? What is it like to be a Lions fan right now? And that is the craziest. Like, I didn't expect that question. That's why I kind of made Eric go first, because I just needed a second to think, like, what do I really want to say right here? Because I could go in so many different directions. And I don't know. I don't know how I answered it. You guys will have to tell me in the video. I mean, I think I just gave my honest answer. I mean, I expected difficulty in the beginning, and I never was in the boat saying fire Dan and fire Brad and, fire AG. I just felt like, you can't rebuild a team in a year. You can't rebuild a team typically in 3 years. But most coaches in Detroit don't last beyond 3 years, 3 seasons. And I feel like fans have been, Lions fans have been ingrained to deal with that. Every 3 years you got a new coach. Every 2 years you've got a new offense or defensive coordinator. And I mean, that's why I burned out Matt Stafford and others. But That was who we were. And that is not who we are now. It's a good feeling when you finally have the right people leading the team. And the team is going in the right direction. But it's an answer that I feel like you guys are probably tossing around in your head right now. Donkey Kong, look, we don't do politics. This will be your only warning. Your only warning. Oh, shoot, we got ads on? We shouldn't have any ads on. I can't stand ads. Sorry, hold on. Here we go. All right, ads are back off. Apologize about that. Hey, I don't do political ads, Donkey Kong. That's all YouTube, buddy. I don't choose the ads. Matter of fact, this is the only channel where you're going to get ad-free. So it's ad-free when we're live. After we're live, the ads kick in. Now I don't even know where I was talking about. But, you guys are probably kicking it around in your head right now. Like, I mean, ask yourself, like, what is it like to be a Lions fan right now? And I mean, how would you have answered this question, after going through what we've been through for decades upon decades in, just the futility and the consistent coaching changes and, just not really great roster after not really great roster. You got a few good key pieces, the Calvin Johnsons, the Matt Staffords, the Ndamukong Suhs, the Golden Tates, the Glover Quinns, the Quandre Diggs, the DeAndre Levies, and then there was more, right? You've got a few spread out, every 4 or 5 seasons. You got a few, new pieces through the draft or stupid expensive ones in free agency. And now it's different. It's different because they're building through the draft. They're building the right way. And I knew that when Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell set out on their mission to build this team, if you thought for 1 minute that this was going to be quick and that we were going to go out and buy all these players, you were wrong. It takes time to do it right. And when they said that their plan was to build through the draft, I mean, that should have been enough to, for everybody to just say, all right, well, we'll give it 3 years. Because it takes 4. It takes 4 drafts to rebuild the team. It really does. Unless you have 8 picks every year, which is unlikely. You get 7 if you haven't traded them away. And that's what happens. Teams, they push the envelope. They trade away 2-3 seasons ahead. As much as I think you can trade 2 seasons ahead. And they mortgage their future. And then they get to that future, that 4th year. And like, we don't have any picks now. And our team is too expensive now. And this whole thing just collapsed on itself. Everything that they were trying to do failed. And that happened to the Lions every 3 to 4 years. You get to one halfway decent season and then there it goes. So anyway, I know we're not talking about preseason. I really don't even want to talk about preseason today. I really don't. I think that we're going to see a lot of second and third teamers again, right? For the 3rd week in a row. And I think it's going to be a good game for us. I do. I'll be there. I think it's going to be a good game for us. I feel like there's a lot of great players, currently sitting on this depth chart that may not make the roster. And that's a great position to be in. But it took us 4 seasons to get there. 4 drafts, 4 off seasons. And here we are. Well, Salty, I was late too, man. So it's all good. Don't forget, memberships are open. And if you guys would like to join the Rocked On Loyalty Crew or the Elite Club, which is your coffee and merchandise club, all of your donations, as we will call it, or memberships, they are directed to the Rocked On Cancer Foundation. And obviously, you guys know that's something near and dear to my heart. Myself and Megan both battling cancer over the last couple of years. The money doesn't come to us. We want to help other people. We never had a benefit or anything for us. That's just, we want to do things for other people. And that's what it's all about. So the power of podcasting and, utilizing 25 years of season ticket and experiences with the Detroit Lions ever since I was a kid to do a podcast has turned out to be something fun and enjoyable, and meeting a lot of great people and a phenomenal community of fans around the world that I've met. And this is what it's all about. To me, this is what football is. It's community, and we'll talk more about that, other days. But I've met a lot of great people throughout this journey, especially during the PFUFA. Like that really blew my mind. Everything that was going on there. But let me give you guys some injury updates real quick. Dan Campbell had mentioned this week that next week, like the day after the game, expecting to get a lot of the players back. And his direct quote was, "We're hoping the day after the Pittsburg game, I think we're going to get a lot of guys back." And he was shooting for Skips, Dan Skipper, Kevin Zeitler, Sam Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs, Malcolm Rodriguez. And they think that that's when they're also going to start DJ Reader on his 21-day window. I think that, they got to start him on a 21-day window, which may or may not happen before week 1. But here's the thing, guys and ladies. What is the cutoff date? Is it the 27th or is it the 29th? Do you guys remember? Is cut day the 27th or the 29th? Watch someone say the 28th, and I'll be wrong on both. It's different this year, so it's kind of hard. Yeah, it's the 27th, 4 p.m. So that means when the Lions are done with this game, that they're only going to have literally 2.5 days to evaluate DJ Reader. So I think that that's probably already been decided. In my opinion, I think it should have been decided that you just sit the guy. Let him sit and get fully healthy. Like, don't rush this thing. And get him back week 6. We have enough firepower going up against the Rams, and we're at home the first 2 weeks, or the first, 3 out of 4 games. So I think that's like perfect situation for us. Perfect. Just let it do its thing. But getting all these guys back is going to be huge. Obviously, you're going to have about 2 weeks to get ready for week 1. And that's when the real work is going to start. You know who your brothers are going to be. Your practice squad will be developed. And it's time to go to work. So by 4 p.m. on the 27th, we're going to have a flurry of breaking news. And it's going to be a busy day in this saddle on Tuesday. So be prepared for it. I saw a question. Do I think that Hendon Hooker has sealed up the backup quarterback spot? 1,000%, man. Look, you hear these statements that are made, or maybe there's some writers that are writing some stuff that say that it's really close between Hendon and Nate Sudfeld. It's not close. In my opinion, it's not close. No way. No way. Cast ahead, Chris Stone, welcome into the show tonight. Says, yo, new to the show, good stuff. Any thoughts on whether or not the Lions missed out on Dotson? Washington traded him to the Eagles. Could have used a good X. Thanks. So did Jahan Dotson really play on the boundary a whole lot? I thought he was more of an interior receiver. And I didn't see the news that he was traded. It's been a busy day here. Busy morning. So he was the wide receiver 3 for the Commanders, right? Or I'm sorry, he will be a wide receiver 3 for the Eagles. So, I mean, they were in the same boat as us. Like, we were looking for somebody to step up, and no one's really stepped up yet. But I thought that Jahan Dotson is more of an inside guy. I could be wrong, but I would have to be honest with you. I have not watched a ton of his work. So let me just pull something up here. And no, I don't think that we missed. I think that there's plenty of opportunity, to be honest with you. And I'm going to be doing a video probably tomorrow on a guy that I think is kind of sliding underneath the radar right now. And I'm not going to name who he is because then someone else is going to drop the video. So I'm not going to do that to myself. But I think there's a guy out there that could be a cut candidate. He's not like gonna, take the top off of defense, but he is somebody that has experience. So Dotson, I mean, a 16th overall pick. What did the Eagles give up for him? Oh my goodness, they gave up a 5th round pick. Wait. The Commanders gave up Dotson in a 5th round pick. And they're sending Washington a 3rd and 2 7th round picks in the 2025 NFL draft. And this is what, a 1-year rental? Yeah, that could be, that could be a good deal. Could be a good deal. Yeah, I mean, he might have played more outside, at Penn State. But I think in the NFL, I think he's played more inside. I appreciate you joining tonight, man. It's always good to see new people joining tonight. Looks like we got another one in here. MXQ K-Dog. Just moved back to Michigan after 30 years. I'm going to the season opener. Go Lions. Well, MXQ K-Dog, make sure you look me up. Find me on Twitter at Will Rock Jr. I'll be there, as I will most all the home games. I will be there, and then we'll be having tailgate opportunities. So more the merrier, man. Like to meet a lot of people and have some fun with it. So make sure you look me up. So cast ahead, I don't think everyone's happy with DPJ. I mean, he hasn't stepped up except for the other day in practice. Like, as soon as they got back from, week 2 in preseason, DPJ kind of went berserk in practice. And that was good to hear. Wasn't good to see because I wasn't there, but it was good to hear. And I think that he has the ability to be a dominant boundary guy. He does. He has the physique. He has the meat on the bones. He has the catch ability. He's got good hands. I think he's a heady player. I just feel like for whatever reason, I know the damn reason. It's Nate Sudfeld, man. They can't get these guys the ball. And so they're getting shoved down, the depth chart because Nate Sudfeld's trash. I'm sorry. And I'm sorry, Nate, if you hear that. I mean, what you've put so far into preseason has not looked good. I mean, the first game, I just wanted to shut the TV off. I was that disappointed. And then Hendon goes in and gets hurt. But what we saw out of Hendon this last week, he didn't get a ton of time with DPJ in that game. I think that Hendon is going to have enough opportunity here to work with these guys, especially after the team is developed and the roster is whittled and now you're spending more one-on-one time. I think that matters. But as soon as Jared Goff was working with DPJ this week, you saw the difference. Goff can get him the ball. And I think that's a big difference. So I don't think everyone's, happy with, the 4th wide receiver and the 5th wide receiver issue that we have. Antoine Green getting hurt that's a problem. He had a ton of upside. And I think the Lions did ignore that position in the draft. But hey, there's only so much we can do. There's only so many guys you can bring in that are game changers. And there's only so many guys that will crack this roster anyway to even get any sort of, time on the field. And I think that's the other thing that we need to understand as fans is not every player. I mean, even if you had 5 number ones on your roster for wide receivers, 5 legit number 1 wide receivers, only 3 of them are going to get the ball and 2 of them are going to get the ball about 80% of the time. So I think that, unless someone gets injured, those receivers are kind of, they're safety nets. That's really all they are at this point. Z Digital in the house. I think I've seen your name in the past. He said a 3rd and a 6th option in our offense would have been crazy. A 3rd for a 6th option. A 3rd for a 6th option in our offense would have been. I'm not following you, Z. I'm not following you. Apologize. Definitely don't wear Stafford jersey. Wear Sanders or Megatron. Definitely don't wear Stafford jersey on opening night. That wouldn't be good for you. I promise you that. That's funny. What jersey should I wear? Stafford. Don't wear it. Just don't do it. So anyway, it's good news that we're getting Sam Laporta and everybody back the week after the game. But here's something that's interesting. So Mike Tomlin came out and said that he plans on playing his starters against the Lions. So again, another opportunity. This is the only reason why I'm interested in going to the game and watching it. Because Tomlin is going to play some starters much like the Chiefs did. Now, I don't know if Tomlin's going to be stubborn and leave his guys in there until they perform. You know, whereas Andy Reid said he was going to play an entire half. Yeah, he was full of you know what. He left them in for like 2, maybe 3 series tops. And he pulled the majority of the starting offense. He left a couple of defensive players out there, but the large majority of them were pulled off the field. So what was supposed to be a whole half turned out to be, you know, like less than a quarter. But with Tomlin, I mean, he's got an issue over there. You know, you bring in Justin Fields and Russell Wilson, you get a crazy good deal on Russell Wilson, $1 million for a season. I mean, you got that kind of money. Who wouldn't just throw $1 million at a quarterback like that? But I think his game has left him, and Justin Fields just has never been able to put it together. So I think you need to make Justin Fields a running back. There's been talks of him, getting more in the passing game. Just make him a running back and be done with it. I think that's where he's the most dynamic anyway. Or run a two quarterback offense, man. I don't know. Do something crazy. Go back to high school days. But he wants to give his starting units at least one last tune-up before they open the regular season September 8th. So their first game is pretty quick, around the corner, just like the Lions. And there's a lot of guys still fighting for roster spots. So Mike Tomlin said this. He said, our mindset regarding this game is kind of a unique one, probably because we are trying to get the best of both worlds. This is our third preseason game, and historically, the third preseason game has been a dry rehearsal for the starters, and we have that mentality, Tomlin said on Thursday at the UPMC Rooney Sports Complex. And then he said that's why we did the simulation work week. So they've been building up, prepping, planning for this game. Obviously, they didn't do any scouting or anything. You can't do that. But anyway, it'll be interesting to see if they come in with a full game plan, if they're going to, walk a vanilla playbook into this, or if they're actually going to throw a few things at the Lions. I hope that they do. I hope that they do test us, and I hope that they test us good. We already know that when Justin Fields gets the ball or is in there at quarterback, that is a problem for us because he's always been a problem for us. But now he's in a different jersey. So I think that means you hit him twice as hard. I don't know about you guys, but that's what I feel. We got 51 people in the house tonight. That's great. Trace is on top of it with the likes. And please like the stream. That helps us get out there to more Lions fans. And you guys have been doing an excellent job, man. We've been banging at least 100 likes in the first hour or two each show. Tonight will not be 2 hours long. I do not have 2 hours worth of content after doing 2 hours this morning, or more than 2 hours this morning. But what I do have is this. I thought it would be fun, kind of, to walk through some defense and kind of explain a little bit about, what these defensive alignments and schemes kind of look like from a minor overview, if you will. Been sticking with defense kind of all day. This morning, All 22 broke it down quite a bit. And here's what I think I want to start with, because something I think has been missed by some fans that see, a Chase Young or a Montez Sweat, right? These guys that are playing well, a Daniil Hunter, all the guys that we wanted. And so after I got, done today with All 22, I started thinking, where were these players playing? What defenses were they coming from? Because when you're in a 3-4 defense, that is a much different look than a 4-3, right? So you have to pay attention to where these players are lined up and what kind of defense the other teams are running. Because if they're not running a 4-3, like the Lions run, and they're in a 3-4, one, it's highly unlikely that they are going to come to your defense and have the same success. It's a different position. Different skill set is required. And two, utilizing different fronts in a 3-4 is much different than it is in a 4-3. I know that's a completely vanilla thing to say, but it just is. You can't disguise as much in a 3-4 as you can with a 4-3, in my opinion. I'm sure that a 3-4 defensive coordinator would argue that all day. But let me just start with the 3-4 defense. So 3-4 defense, yeah, Great Lakes State guys says we can only hit him if we catch him. I hope we catch him. So the 3-4 defense is a popular defensive alignment, and it has been for a long time. It really consists of 3 defensive linemen and 4 linebackers. I don't think that that's any secret. So here's kind of an overview or a breakdown of how it really works from a basic structure standpoint. And here it is. So defensive linemen. The 3 defensive linemen typically include 2 defensive ends and 1 nose tackle. So if this were the Lions running this, it would be DJ Reader in the middle, Aiden Hutchinson, and Marcus Davenport. Those would be your 3 down linemen. That doesn't seem like it works a whole lot, does it? Just the other day we were talking about, is Aiden Hutchinson, going to take some more snaps on the inside? Is he going to flip-flop, with Aleem McNeil? You kick Aleem McNeil out, you put Aiden Hutchinson on the inside, or vice versa. You kick both Davenport and Hutchinson on the inside, and maybe you have Mekhi Wingo on the outside and, Josh Paschal on the other side, or Aleem McNeil on one side and Josh Paschal on the other side. There's opportunity there, but Aiden Hutchinson isn't 295 pounds or 300 plus pounds. The guy's like 260. Same thing for Marcus Davenport. I think he's a little heavier, right around the 275-ish mark. I haven't checked recently, but that's pretty light to be on the inside going up against, 300-pound linemen, where on the outside you have a little bit more room to react and work. On the inside, not as much. So just imagine that for a minute. It takes a different style of player to play in a 3-4 defense. That's why when you see players that come to a team and they just don't work out, they probably came from a different defense and they just have never been good at running anything else but that defense. So these players are responsible, obviously, for engaging the offensive line and taking on and occupying blockers. So the rest of the defense, the linebackers, can get to the quarterback. Now you're using defensive ends on the 3-4. Notice how he didn't say pass rusher. There is a big difference between a defensive end and a pass rusher. In this type of a system, your 2 outside backers are your pass rushers. That is where you have the Danielle Hunters, right? Who's in a 3-4 defense, but he's running as a pass rusher on the outside of a defense. Or, you've got Khalil Mack. I can't remember if the 49ers run a 3-4 or 4-3 and what Bosa was running up there, but linebackers. So you got 4 linebackers. They are divided into 2 outside linebackers, 2 inside linebackers. The outside linebackers often act as the edge rushers, like I was just saying. And while the inside linebackers focus on stopping the run and converting short passes, hold on a sec here. Anyway, the outside linebackers often act as the edge rushers, and the inside backers often are focused on stopping the run and covering the short passes. So dropping back, the middle third of the field and taking that coverage assignment, or moving up, obviously, and taking care of the run, between the tackles. Schemes in front. So there's a lot of different schemes and fronts that you can run out of a 3-4, but one of the most prominent is the Okie front. So in your alignment, the defensive ends line up over the offensive tackles. It's called the 5 technique. And then the nose tackle lines up directly over the center in the 0 technique. Their responsibility in this front uses a two-gap technique, meaning that the defensive linemen are responsible for two gaps, allowing the linebackers to read and react to the play. Now, the Lions are running a gap and a half system right now in a 4-3 hybrid, type of a defense. So it's a bit different from a 3-4. Imagine DJ Reader is lined up over, top of a center. Well, he's got to cover the gap to his left and the gap to his right. And then the ends, as they're pushed down, they have to cover the gap on the outside of the tackle and the inside of the tackle. So it's a lot more difficult to play in a 3-4 than it is, in my opinion, in a 4-3. But you're also losing the ability of a free rusher in a 4-3, because in a 3-4, you got four linebackers that are standing up. In a 4-3, you got three. Doesn't mean you can't throw four out there, but you have, two outside backers and a middle backer. That's it in a 4-3. So I think that's where you see the translation gets lost with maybe you're getting or seeing more sacks in a 3-4 because you've got a free rusher, or at least someone that typically isn't blocked, right, until they enter, the offensive line. The next technique or the next scheme that is used quite a bit is called the eagle front. Now, in this alignment, it's very similar to the Okie, but it's a little bit more aggressive in the positioning. The responsibility here, the defensive linemen use a one-gap technique. So they focus on penetrating just that single gap to disrupt the play. So you're going to see a lot of eagle front blitz, different sort of blitzing techniques out of the eagle, but just shooting one single gap. They're just trying to, get through that and get to the quarterback, or at least disrupt, like we were talking about this morning. Your overall goal on the defensive line, whether you're a D end, a D tackle, doesn't matter. Pass rusher, your only goal is to disrupt. Sacks are great, right? But I'd rather see a ball on the ground. I'd rather see a ball get intercepted. More importantly, I'd rather see a tackle for a loss, or at least ensuring that the runner doesn't get outside of your coverage zone or your responsibility. And that's, to me, is the difference between a 4-3 and a 3-4-2. Now you've got more guys along the front of the defensive line that can contain the run a little bit better without losing the leverage of a linebacker on either side. The other front, that's again used quite a bit, is the under front. And in this alignment, you've got the nose tackle that shifts to a one technique, which is just slightly off center. And then one of the defensive ends moves to a three technique, which is between the guard and the tackle. And in this responsibility, in this alignment, it really helps in stopping the run by creating mismatches along the inside of the offensive line. So in rundowns, you're typically going to see them in an under front, right? In early downs, you could see them in an eagle front where they're trying to get push, shooting a gap early. And then in coverage downs, you're more than likely going to see them in an Okie front where they're kind of spread out a little bit, which is spreading the offensive line out, which then you can get a shooting linebacker or a shooting safety or a shooting corner, depending on what they're doing on the back end. Now, the strengths of a 3-4 defense, and I hope I'm not boring you guys too much, but the strengths of a 3-4 defense, flexibility. So in the 3-4 defense, it allows for various blitz packages and coverage schemes. So making it really difficult for an offense to kind of predict, is there a fourth rusher? Or are they sticking with three? Where's the blind guy? Where's the guy that we don't see? And that's typically hard, on an offensive line or a quarterback to recognize right away. You've also got pretty good versatility with a 3-4. It can be effective against both run and pass, providing a balanced approach to a defense. Give me 1 second here. So this defense has obviously been really popular, with Vic Fangio. He really stylized a lot of the 3-4. He had a basic philosophy on the idea that it is easier to play defense coming downhill rather than running backward. And by starting deeper, defenders can keep the game in front of them rather than constantly turning and running. The reason why I took that little nugget off the interweb is because, do you guys remember what I said this morning about I just wanted to see the Lions put their damn chest to the quarterback? Someone had to start watching the quarterback and paying attention to what was going on in front of them. And that's why mobile quarterbacks were hurting us all the time. That's why quarterbacks would get, a 5 or 6 second ball off over the middle for a big gash. Nobody had their damn chest to the quarterback. They're turning and running. That is the biggest downside to a 4-3 defense if you are not running a spy, or if you're not able to play man-to-man defense, which the Lions unfortunately didn't have any DPs last year that were pretty much worth a darn anyway. But none of them really could play mirror match game. None of them could really stick with their assignment and play hip to hip. That's going to change this year. And when that changes, that allows your linebacker, at least one of your linebackers, to kind of free up a little bit, pull him back, put Jack Campbell back just a couple of steps, keep everything in front. Have him manage the middle. Anzalone can follow a tight end. That's what I hope to see. I want to see Jack Campbell utilized a whole hell of a lot this year, rushing the passer and being a spy. The last thing here, in a strength of a 3-4 defense, is confusion. So by hiding the fourth rusher, which that's always the issue, is hiding this fourth rusher, the 3-4 defense keeps the offense guessing, which can lead to mistakes, which ultimately lead to turnovers, which I think is where we're going to see some success. Not only this weekend, I'm hoping that Hendon Hooker, and the reason I'm going over this too is I'm hoping that Hendon Hooker has the ability to read this defense and really pick it apart. Now he's going to be up against, some lower tiered guys, but there are also going to be some starters in the very beginning of this game. And Hendon is supposed to get the start. So I think that Hendon's kind of getting the worst of it in the preseason. He's going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. It has always usually been pretty tough. It's the same defense they've been running for a long time. It's Mike Tomlin. He's been pretty consistent. 500 ball club or better, like every year for like 20 years. I can't even remember the last time they really had a major losing streak. But they're getting the starters, and Hendon's getting the start. So much like Sudfeld got it last week with the Chiefs, now you're going to see Hendon Hooker get an opportunity against the starters of the Steelers. So part of the reason, like I said, I'm going over this stuff is to kind of give you guys an overview here of what Hendon Hooker is going to be up against. He's going to have to find that fourth rusher. He's going to have to identify it. You know who else has to help him? The center. The center has to be able to look around and figure out, make the call like Frank Ragnow would do, and identify this guy. But Hendon Hooker is going to have to show us that he has the brain for this. So I think it's going to be really fun to watch Hendon make some moves this weekend and make some calls. Now, I don't know what freedom he's going to have getting, out of a play. I'm sure he has a certain amount of checks, and plays that he can move off of. And then what is it that he can move into? That's going to be interesting to watch. I want to see his brain at work. We heard all the crap about Hendon, failed this test, failed that test. And then you heard Mark Brunell tell us the guy's smart. Like he's picking everything up instantly. As soon as I'm putting it down, Hendon's picking it up. That was good to hear last year. Now I want to see it on the field. So, lastly, key players for a 3-4 defense. Clearly your nose tackle is a key cog in this whole thing, man. The nose tackle has to be a big-bodied player. They can occupy multiple blockers, take on double teams and still win, every once in a while. But that's a crucial position in a 3-4 defense. Secondly, I would say it's your outside linebackers. They have to be the primary pass rushers. They need to be very quick, very agile, and have the ability to cover. Your inside linebackers, I feel, are your third most important position in a 3-4. They're responsible for reading the play and reacting quickly to stop the run or cover the short passes. So it doesn't even get to the safeties or the corners, until obviously a little bit beyond that. But those are your most important players right there, up front. Nose tackle, outside, inside linebackers in a 3-4. And that is what Hendon Hooker is going to have to diagnose this weekend. With that said, what do you guys think about Hendon Hooker this weekend? He's going to get the test of tests. I'm actually kind of glad that Tomlin is decided to do this and keep in line with what he's been doing every year, which is playing the starters in the third game. This has been their walkthrough. This is a balancing act for a lot of teams. They get into the same routine every year. And every year, things change just a little bit here or there in the NFL. And it's kind of hard for teams to stick into a groove and stick with what they've been doing and how they've been teaching these guys to get ready for the game. The one thing that Tomlin, knows right now is that Russell Wilson will be the team starting quarterback this weekend, but he doesn't know who's coming out of this game right now as a starting quarterback for the first week. So Justin Fields will be the backup, which, look, the second and third teamers that are going to be playing all game long, Justin's going to see the same players that Russell's seeing in the first half, is what I'm understanding. The Lions aren't looking to play anybody right now, especially with a rash of injuries that we have suffered this offseason and during training camp. So I think it's going to be a unique game for Hendon. So question to the chat, is Hendon Hooker going to win? Is he going to show us that he can win? Or is he going to have, a little bit of trouble this weekend? I have faith in the kid. I think that Hendon's going to do just fine. Matter of fact, being his third game, albeit he only had a series and a half or two series in the first game before his injury. What we saw out of him last week brought our team down and put him in a winning position to kick that field goal. That gave me a lot more confidence that I think Hendon is a little bit further along than some people think. All right, let's see here. Brent says, if we run a 3-4, wouldn't we need a lot of speed in the linebackers? Do we have what we need to be able to run a 3-4? No, I don't think so. But that's why we run a 4-3. I don't think we definitely don't have the linebackers. No. So I don't know if that's your point, but we don't have the linebackers. And if you look at Marcus Davenport, I think Aiden could run 3-4. I think that he could, be a super big outside linebacker. He's got decent speed to him. Decent. It's not blazing. My eye just keeps twitching tonight. I don't know why. But I think that Aiden could probably switch. Davenport, I don't know. I don't know if he's ever played in the 3-4 defense at the pro level. I don't know if the Saints ran a 3-4 at all. Something tells me they didn't. But honestly, I don't know without looking it up. Mike P says, I think Hooker, with his early reads, don't mean a thing against the Steelers. They're going to come after him. Interesting. King SJ says, hoping Hendon can get the W, but we'll see what happens. I just want to see Hendon play consistent this weekend, a little bit more consistent, especially with some of his passes. Ryan Van Valkenburg, Hendon needs to get a lot of playing time this weekend. He'll get at least a half, is what I'm understanding. Let's see. Mike P says that he likes loops and stunts up front. I do too. I think stunts are fun. Especially when you have, agile guys with a little bit of speed. They can make the switch a little bit quicker. Perryman247, that is the new name. Welcome in tonight. Says, I think Hooker will be a showstopper. All right, I'm going to hold you to that. So make sure you're here for the post-game reaction. And let's see how much he did stop the show. Z Digital says, depends on how the backup O-line holds up. So that's interesting to me because, you know, last week Dan Campbell said that was some of the best offensive line play that he has seen from the backups. Now, our guys didn't take a sack, right? Or at least they didn't let up a sack. And when I watched it, I didn't see the same thing. But that's why Dan Campbell's the coach. And that's why I'm in this chair. So whatever he saw, he liked. I saw Kobe Sorsdal get beat pretty bad. And I didn't like it. So I don't know. Well, we'll see. I think that this defense that we're going up against could be a little bit deeper than the Chiefs in the second half. So it could be a little bit tougher of a defense, to be honest with you. Dennis Reisman, welcome in tonight. He says, as a Broncos fan, I have much respect for the Lions fans. Y'all have been through some shiznit. Yeah, we have been, but we here now. And welcome in tonight. Appreciate you joining Rock On Detroit Lions. Bobby Stark says, I wish you was going to Arizona for week 3. I'd love to meet you, but soon. Well, I won't take Arizona off the list. I haven't made any plans just yet. But who knows? You know, I could catch a hot flight. We'll see. Yeah, Mike P., I don't get a whole lot of sleep. You know that, man. I think I had like 4 hours of sleep this morning. Or, yeah, I think I went to bed at like 2 a.m. Got up at 6. Ryan Vid Valkenberg says, Mahomes sat behind Alex Smith while they built the team, and then they installed Mahomes. That could work here, too. Meanwhile, Goff will get us a Super Bowl. Good point. I like the fact that Hendon gets to sit on the shelf a little bit and learn, and we have great quarterback in front of him. Goff's going to deal us a lot of wins this season. MXQ K-Dog wanted to remind Dennis that we've been dealing with this for 52 years. It's been a long time. Great Lakes State guy from Michigan says that he truly believes that Hendon's going to set himself apart as QB2 this weekend. I think he's got it wrapped up, but you know what? I'm with you there. I think that this is going to be the weekend, the game that he shows out. So Hendon Hooker with the touchdown pass. I'm calling it right now. Hendon Hooker with a touchdown pass in the first quarter. Probably not the first series, but the first quarter. Assuming he gets to a second series, which I think he will in the first quarter. Who else is in here? We got Elizabeth LaValle in here. She says, how much would we get for Hooker? Definitely not a first round. So he was a third rounder. Came in with ACL injury. This is his second season. He has yet to play a game in the regular season. He's probably worth a 6th round at most right now. 6th rounder. Trey says, great job at hitting 50 likes. Looks like we hit our first goal. Now we got to get to 100. I don't know if we even have 100 people in tonight. Probably not. 61. Not too bad. Josh Prince says, who do you think the Lions trade for this weekend? I don't think that there's any trades. I mean, there's possible one. There's one possible that I'm going to do a video on tomorrow. I'm not going to be able to stay awake tonight to do it. And I've already put out a couple of clips tonight. So I'll do it tomorrow. After the morning show, I'll get it done and I'll release it. But I think next week is where you're going to see, I think, a couple of players potentially make their way onto this team after cuts. There's going to be a shift. You might have a couple of guys that go to a list or even get cut, and then you might see a couple of guys come in. But it all depends on who the Lions keep, and we're going to do that show probably, so let's see, the 27th should be what, Tuesday? So we will do that show on Monday. And probably do it on Monday morning. We'll do our final 53-man prediction for Monday morning, starting at 8 a.m. right here. Rick, I can't tell you who, buddy. I can't, because if I tell you who, someone else is going to do it, man. If you're talking to me. Oh, Bobby Stark says, if you do let me know, you've got an Airbnb booked 15 minutes away from the stadium. Nice. What's my record prediction for the Lions? So early in the season, or the off season, sorry, right around draft week, Eric and I started doing some, record predictions and things of that nature. And I think I was at 13-4. And that's where I'm going to kind of stay for right now until I see the roster. Once I see the roster and see who's healthy, then I might make a change. But I had us at 13-4, and I think 13 wins will get us at least tied for the 1 seed, if not the 1 seed in the NFC. But I still think there's a potential we could get to 14-3. But I have to see what's going to happen with the rest of these teams in the NFC. A trade for Sutton to the Lions? No way. Sutton is gone. Done. Thank God. All right. We'll keep moving on here. So now I'm going to go into the 4-3 and how that's going to give potentially some fits to the Steelers, because what we're going to run out of the 4-3 is a different structure called a nickel. And within the 4-3, you can disguise your nickel pretty well. These teams aren't stupid. They know when you have 5 DBs on the field, or 6 in a rare case. But that would be a different defense. But the nickel defense is a very versatile defense. I love the nickel defense. It used to be primarily used to counter passing offenses. But in my opinion, now I feel like if you have bigger safeties and cornerbacks that are willing to hit, or that tweener of a linebacker, you can get guys in here that can help defend the run a little bit easier and the pass by running the nickel. So basic structure, you've got defensive linemen. The nickel defense typically features either 4 defensive linemen or 3 defensive linemen. So you got the 4-2-5, or you have the 3-3-5. Or you guys are talking about Cortland Sutton. No, yeah, that's not happening. I don't see it happening. I think that, yeah, no way. I don't know if anyone's been reporting on that recently, but it's not happening. I'm sorry, guys. Matter of fact, here, let me look at his contract again real quick. I wish, that we would have a bona fide number 3 that, was tall and, good speed and all that great stuff. But we already know that Khalif Raymond is the number 3, according to Dan Campbell. And beyond that, you really don't need another receiver. You need backups. I think beyond the 3rd and the 4th option there, the 4th is stretching it. They're going to get maybe 20% of the targets between, the 3rd, the 4th, and the 5th option the entire season. 20%. So Cortland Sutton, 6'4", 216 pounds. Yeah, he makes a great story. He's got 6 seasons in the NFL. Right now, he is set to make right around $18 million this year and $18 million next year. So it's not a crazy number, especially when you look at the dead cap situation and what the Lions would probably take in if they were to trade. If they were to trade, the Lions would bring in about $14 million of cap this year and next year. So it would be a 2-year deal, 2 years left on his contract, $28 million. And knowing Brad, yeah, if they were to work out a deal for something like this, they'd probably want to tack on, an extra year or 2 and make this a lot more affordable. I just don't see it happening. what are you going to do with J-Mo then? Because Cortland would be coming in to be your number 2. Clearly. Unless the Lions, really wanted to spend a boatload of money to have what would probably be the most expensive wide receiver room in the league. You would have arguably at least $50 million going out next year to 2 guys. That's a ton of money for 2 wide receivers. So I just don't see it happening. I really don't. I think the Lions will draft somebody next year and Khalif Raymond will be gone, is my guess. But anyway, back to the defense here. So I see the Lions running a lot of nickel this weekend, primarily because they're going to want to stop Justin Fields. So we'll probably see a lot of nickel when Fields is in the game. I'm hoping. And the reason why I'm hoping that is because I want to see more man defense too. And I want to see these guys, have their one-on-ones and then have a guy free to kind of spy on the quarterback. And for once, we shut Justin Fields down. And it's preseason, though. So these guys are going to be making business decisions left and right if they don't have a clear shot and it looks, sketchy at all where they could get hurt. They're probably going to back off. But anyway, defensive linemen, you either have 4 in the 4-2-5 or 3 in the 3-3-5. Linebackers, again, depending on the alignment, if you're in the 4-2-5, you have 2 linebackers. And if you are in the 3-3-5, you'll obviously have 3 linebackers, three down linemen. Defensive backs. The key feature of the nickel defense is the addition of a 5th defensive back known as Brian Branch. He is the 5th defensive back. And no, we're not trading Aiden Hutchinson for Sutton. Come on. Come on. Brian Branch is inserted in the nickel defense. He's obviously going to be playing a lot more safety, but I feel like when we're in the nickel, we're going to see Brian down in the nickel, and you'll probably have Kirby and Iffy back at safety. Although we also have a guy by the name of Amik Robertson who has been playing pretty damn good this spring this summer in training camp. So I think that now you're going to see Robertson probably get more opportunity, and you're going to leave Brian Branch back there at safety, which I think is going to totally change the dynamic of this defense. Brian is a ball hawker, and we know that. It doesn't matter where he's lined up. He's going to go and search out that ball and go make a play. So it'll be interesting to see just how much nickel we run this season. I think it's going to be quite a bit. Honestly, last year I was heated at times during games, which I didn't do a ton of live play-by-play last year, but I will more this year. So you didn't see all of it. But man, when we had a perfect opportunity to run a nickel defense to shut these guys down, we didn't. But now with an opportunity with Amik Robertson and Brian Branch and Kirby and Iffy and Carlton Davis and Ennis Rakestraw and Terrion Arnold, there is no reason in the world why we shouldn't be the fastest defense in the league by rushing or by putting more DBs on the field more often and running a nickel more often. That is a very versatile defense, especially when you start getting into all the schemes and the different style of fronts, that you can do. So in the 4-2-5, your alignment is simple. It's 4 defensive linemen, 2 linebackers, 5 defensive backs. The responsibility, clearly, that this alignment provides is a balance between run defense and pass coverage, which I think is what the Lions need. They need to stay balanced, not too much one way or the other. Aiden can still do his thing. Davenport can still do his thing in this defense, but it only keeps 2 linebackers on the field. And I think that that's the biggest change for us is, will Calvin Shepard and Aaron Glenn and Dan Campbell trust only having 2 linebackers on the field more often? What I would say is it makes more sense because last year our linebackers gave up way too much over the middle. So why not have a safety down there? Why not have an extra safety in the game that better defends the pass? You fix the problem. If your linebackers can't cover, you put in a safety. Yeah, you get a little bit smaller, But there's no reason why these guys can't tackle anybody else. It's not based on size. We know that. It's not the size of the dog, right? It's not the bite of the dog either. So I just feel like the Lions could have fixed a lot of their headaches last year by running the nickel more often. Now, in the 3-3-5, this gets a little bit different. And I do think that we have the personnel to run the 3-3-5, especially now with the addition of DJ Reader and the emergence of Broderick Martin. You need somebody in the middle that can eat up blocks, and that's what DJ Reader is great at. I think that the addition of DJ Reader is going to allow this defense to see more 3-3-5 sets, probably on third down, is what I'm thinking here. So if you got DJ Reader in, and you could leave Hayden Hutchinson in too, but you could still put up, Ali McNeil on the left, DJ Reader in the middle, and let's say Mekhi Wingo gets a crack, so he can work inside out. Hayden Hutchinson's still in the game. Hayden Hutchinson would just be up. He would be, your probably your will linebacker in this situation. Alex Anzalone would be on the other side as the Sam, and Jack would be in the middle. That's a scary defense. And that's a defense that is very versatile, especially when you've got Brian Branch on the field with you, Terrion Arnold, Carlton Davis, Kirby, and Iffy, or Amik, somewhere in there as well. So very, very interesting alignments in fronts, that the Lions are going to be able to get into this year because of the personnel that we have. That is going to be the biggest difference this season, is the personnel and how they're able to utilize it to their benefit. So Mike P says, the way Fields throws, we could have a few picks if we can keep him bottled up. We will have a night. And then he also says, bring Iffy up. He's a small backer size. Iffy is a little bit big for a safety. I don't know what he's at this year though. And then Ryan Van Valkenburg says, I hope the Chiefs embarrass the Bears tonight at Arrowhead. Is that game already started? I wanted to watch that game. Oh, yeah, it's starting here in about 5 minutes. So you know what that means. All right, so the strengths of the nickel defense, pass coverage. The extra D-back improves the defense's ability to cover multiple receivers, obviously making it very effective against the spread offense. And speed and versatility, which is another very important factor to any defense being successful. The nickelback adds speed and versatility, allowing for various blitz packages and coverage schemes. So last year, man, I was like, come on, can we get into the nickel? Can we shoot the gap with a corner? Can we start sending Iffy? Something. And it was, I can't remember which game it was, but it happened. It might have been the Broncos. But whatever game it was, it started to happen, and it happened often. And that was a big change for us. We started to have some success with it. And that was an instant resolution to some of the issues that we were having over the middle of the field. And then we went away from it. As quickly as we started it and had success with it, the Lions went away from it. It's almost like they were too scared they had success. I don't know. I don't know what they were thinking. But they should have stayed in that speed package more often, in my opinion. But again, what do I know? I'm here. I'm not there. So, not that I belong there either, because I don't. But then there's confusion, right? The nickel defense can create confusion for the offense by disguising coverages and blitzes, leading to mistakes and turnovers. Look, guys, we got to win this turnover battle this year. We have to. You're not going to like this. More so than sacks, do we need fumbles and interceptions? If we want to take this team to the Super Bowl and win games and put games out of contention early so that our guys don't have to play all 4 quarters and they don't have to go balls to the wall every single game and keep them healthier, we need turnovers. Why? So the offense can turn around and put some points on the board. I would rather have a scoring defense. I mean, that would be phenomenal, but I can't have everything that I want, right? Much rather see us have a high scoring defense. But if at least we can win the turnover battles and allow our offense to score, you can kind of relax a little bit, midway through the fourth quarter when you're up by 3 touchdowns or whatever the case is. So that's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm hoping for this season is more nickel defense from our Detroit Lions. Cause mass chaos and confusion for these quarterbacks. Get some more turnovers, right? Get the speed package working, allowing for more and various blitz packages to start opening up this defense. And when that happens, you start creating more one-dimensionality of teams, you start to win ball games. And we win enough ball games, you make the playoffs. And you win enough early, you can start to rest players. So I think that we definitely have an opportunity this year to see a drastic change in our defense that Aaron Glenn deserves with these players, because he has the right team right now. And I know they're still young, but he has the right team right now. And I hope that youth shouldn't be a problem for us, I hope. But we definitely have a young team still with a lot of the players that we're trusting this season. Key players, obviously, in a 4-4-3 or even the 3-3, nickelback is big time. That's why Brian Branch is so important to this team. But now they've put him back at safety. So that means Amik Robertson is really going to have to step up big time. And he's already stepped up during the first 2 preseason games. Like he said, don't anybody tell me I'm a backup. He was pissed. Whoever was calling him a backup, one of us creators out here was calling him a backup. Could have been me. I don't know. Could have been. May have been. Probably was. He was pissed. So defensive lineman obviously is another key. When isn't a defensive lineman a key to a game? And then linebackers, of course, they're very important. Jack Campbell's going to have to take a big step forward in leading this team. Anzalone is the captain, right? My captain is Alex Anzalone. But at some point, he's going to have to pass the torch to Captain Jack. And it should be this season that we see Jack Campbell take a huge leap forward. And both of those guys, working in tandem together, it's going to be a fun defense to watch. It really is. So I want to take a few questions or statements, or what do you guys feel? Do you think that it's time for us to stick with a nickel defense more often? I mean, clearly we're probably going to enter, a lot of these games with a 4-3. You can disguise the nickel in a 4-3. It doesn't happen all the time because, unless you have these guys wear different, jersey numbers, and the other team forgets who you are, it's pretty easy to tell when you have 5 DBs on the field versus 3 linebackers or even 4 linebackers at time. It's not like it's difficult to figure out, but it can be difficult to figure out what defense you're actually going to run out of that front, out of the basic structure package. What are you actually going to run? And that's where you have positional villains. Like Brad Holmes says, often he wants guys that have flex, guys that can, be one certain type of a player this moment, and the next moment they can play something totally different, and you just don't know what you're going to get. It's like, a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get inside. And that's the unique thing about this defense and its positional flex at multiple positions that the Lions are going to be able to offer up this year. So it's going to be an exciting season for us. And I want to see a lot of this stuff utilized this weekend. Now, sticking with a 4-3, pretty straight up defense. It's classic, right? It's been around forever. And it's a classic defensive alignment. Clearly, it consists of 4 defensive linemen and 3 linebackers. I'm going to give you the Cliff Notes version. Schemes and fronts. You've got the base 4-3. The defensive ends will line up on the outside of the offensive tackles, and the defensive tackles will line up over the offensive guards. Head up. So the linebackers are then positioned behind the defensive line, of course, right? Responsibility, each player is responsible for one gap. Now, you know that the Detroit Lions do what? Gap and a half. So we are a 4-3 base defense hybrid when we're running this gap and a half system. This alignment is very effective at the run and the pass when you're forcing your defensive front linemen to take up a gap and a half. In the 4-3 over defense, the defensive line kind of shifts towards the strong side of the field or the side where the tight end is lined up. Now, on the strong side, the defensive tackle will line up in the B gap. What did I keep saying this offseason? Those of you that have been watching me long enough, I kept saying we needed a B gap rusher. We needed a B gap rusher. We needed a B gap rusher. We needed someone to fit the B gap for our 4-3 over defense. Mekhi Wingo's that guy, people. That's Mekhi Wingo. So the defensive line obviously shifts to the strong side with the tight end. The strong side defensive tackle lines up in the B gap, while the weak side defensive tackle will line up in the A gap. Responsibility, pretty simple. In this alignment, it enhances more of run support. And on the strong side, right, and it allows for various blitz packages on the shallow side. In the 4-3 under, which is the other main component to a 4-3 defense, in this alignment, the defensive line will shift towards the weak side or away from the tight end. So remember, strong side, tight end, weak side, away from tight end. On the strong side, defensive end will line up on the outside of the tight end, so the outside shoulder. And the strong side defensive tackle lines up in the A gap or will be on the inside shoulder. Now, this responsibility for the defensive line will aim to exploit the weaknesses in the offensive line and create mismatches. And that's why you start to see guys kind of jumping around. You know, when they're in this 4-3 under defense or over, it doesn't really matter. You'll see defensive linemen start to move around and find that mismatch. They know who they want. And I hope that we see a little bit more of that this season, where we're seeing, you know, whether it's Aiden pulled to the inside and DJ Reader kicked, you know, down, or Aleem kicked on the outside. I want to see some movement. I want to see some uniqueness for once. What are the strengths of a 4-3? Uh-oh. Great Lakes Steak. I'll get to that comment in a minute. Gap control. So what are the strengths of a 4-3? You know, we're doing a gap and a half technique or gap and a half responsibility. This doesn't really make it easier for defenders to maintain their assignments because you have to be in both gaps. But it does allow them to help stop the run. It also allows for flexibility. In the 4-3 defense, it can easily adapt to various offensive formations and be used with different coverage schemes. So cover 2, cover 3, cover 4, a lot of flexibility in the 4-3. Pressure. We get a lot of pressure, or at least we did last year with Aiden Hutchinson. Now in the 4-3 defense, the defensive linemen generate consistent pressure on the quarterback without relying on heavier, blitz packages. But here's the problem. We blitzed a ton last year. A ton. And I don't want to see where Aaron Glenn has to resort to blitzing. When you start to blitz all the time, you lose or you don't maintain the credibility of the defense. Once you start to blitz a lot, you start to open up liabilities. So I prefer to see a blitz and a nickel when you have speedier guys in the game behind you. They can cover more area quicker. Because if you start blitzing out of the 4-3 and you're shooting gaps and you've got slower guys on the outside, the minute, they sink something in over top of you and you don't have anybody there to cover, what happens? Well, what happens is what happened all last season. They would drop guys in behind the linebackers, bang, hit them, and then they'd take it because the backs are turned, take it for another 20, 30 yards or to the house, depending on where they are in the field. So I want to see the blitzing come from more of the, nickel defensive packages. I just feel it makes more sense. But we'll see what happens. fundamentally, I think that, we're going to have a much better season than we did last year defensively. And especially after listening to all 22 this morning, man, I'm a little bit more jacked up about this defense. I think that it's going to be a very difficult cut week next week. And that is a great position to be in. So, real quick, let me get to an ad here. Want to shout out Sports Spider.
The season is here, and you want the latest news and rumors on your Detroit Lions. Head to sportspider.com. That's sports, SPYDER.com, where you can get your Lions news and all your sports in one place. Man, this site is packed with your favorite podcasts, live news, articles from local writers, and insiders, all updating in real time. Not just the Lions, every major sports team, including MMA, UFC, and so much more. Don't want to waste time searching? Sign up for free. Create your ultimate sports news hub. You control what hits your feed at SportsSpider, your number one source for all your sports. Visit SportsSpider.com today, right after the show.
All right. Thanks, Sports Spider, for being such an amazing sponsor of the show. So, Mr. Dennis Reisman. So when I mentioned the Broncos, it was simply, mentioning that I think that is when we started more of the nickel blitz packages. Obviously the offense was terrible for the Broncos last year. I mean, I think we exposed that pretty well. But I don't think it was by design that it just happened to happen. I mean, it just worked out. But that's just the game that I remember that things went really well for us in the blitz game out of the nickel packages. So Great Lakes State, Michigan guy thinks that James Houston is going to be disposable and that he's going to get traded and that we're going to bring in a number 3 wide receiver. So I'm not going to pick on you, but here's my take. James isn't going anywhere. And our number 3 is already cemented as Khalif Raymond. If we're going to trust what Dan Campbell told the media just a few days ago, it's that Khalif Raymond is number 3. Done. It's set. There was only 5 to 6 positions left to battle for on this entire team as of 48 hours ago. And I would have to imagine that is wide receiver 4 and 5 would make up 2 of them. And it's probably right end 3 or 4, or at least 3. And it's probably defensive tackle number 6 versus end number 6 or end number 5. Dan Campbell, it's funny. Dan Campbell made the same exact statement that I've been saying all year. What do I always say? That those last few positions is going to be a case of, is this, 5th defensive tackle better than a 5th safety? And does a 5th safety make more sense because of the new kickoff rule? Or is a 5th safety better than a 6th cornerback? Is a 6th cornerback better than a 6th wide receiver? Is a 6th wide receiver better than a 4th tight end? Is a 4th tight end better than a 4th running back? I've been saying it all year. Dan Campbell just said the exact same thing less than 48 hours ago. And it's a pretty consistent battle every year that you have to answer those questions. And I don't know what they're thinking right now outside of that damn kickoff rule. I feel like it is going to fudge the numbers for a lot of teams. If they consider this new kickoff rule a hindrance because, 1, they have to learn it, or 2, maybe they haven't figured it out yet, how they're going to utilize it, how they're going to benefit from it, how they're going to make other teams fall victim or prey to, certain situations. So I think James Houston is safe primarily because of, really all 22 this morning locked it in for me. Even though I was already locked in, he really locked it in when he said that, having a guy that's a super specialist, I'm not quoting him verbatim because I can't remember exact what he said, but I got the gist of it.
Having a guy like James Houston that's a super specialist, there are far worse things to be great at, right? The fact that he's really great at rushing the passer, you're not going to get rid of that. The fact that he came in his rookie season, halfway through the season, and had a sack every game and 2 in a couple games, which was better than the output of Aiden Hutchinson, is huge. He was outperforming your number 2 overall pick in the draft. And he was, a 6th round pick or a 5th round pick? 6th round pick, I think, that year. He certainly didn't play like it. Now, yeah, they had to give Aiden a little bit of attention, but again, you heard this morning that the way that these double teams and triple teams are being calculated is not true. People are not taking into consideration the eye test here. They're just believing in these stats, and those stats are not always right. And this is what I've been saying for 2-3 years now. The AI chips in the shoulder pads are not correct. Do not trust in any of those stats where they're giving you double team and triple team stats. They are not correct. Watch the game. Tally it up yourself. Is it a combo block? Is it a chip? Or is it a true double team? Whereas a true double team, 2 guys engage on 1 player at the same time, and they don't leave that player, right? They might leave at one point, to go block somebody else that's crashing in, but it's not, I'm using my microphone here. It's not, engage, and then a running back comes and this guy moves off into the second level and a running back engages. That's not a double team. That's a chip. Or a combo block where you got one guy that engages and your trailer comes in and engages with him, and then one guy breaks off. So those are the things that I pay attention to. And James was, even when he was double teamed, he beat him more often than not. He was able to slip under or slip through or get around with Big Bend, which is my only concern. How much of the bend did he lose to the ankle injury? Hopefully not much. Hopefully not much. Mike P says, what about the O-line, Will? We are thin with backup depth. Yeah, we are, Mike, but I think we're getting a couple of guys back, as Dan Campbell just said the other day. We're getting a couple of guys back next week. But we are thin. So O-line, like I said last week, is a position that I think the Lions are going to look for after cuts. There's going to be a few guys. Matter of fact, there's a few guys that are on my list. Maybe I'll put them in the video tomorrow with the receiver. Maybe I'll do a combo block video, right? We'll do a combo video. We'll do the receiver and an O-line guy that I feel could be a potential for the Lions. You just got to see the health of these guys. The real issue that we have this year is mahogany. No timetable right now. And I think that that's a problem for the Lions because they could NFI him and it could go all season. There's no reason to pull him off of NFI until he's absolutely needed, which you have to know 21 days in advance anyway, of when he's going to be needed. Well, not really. You just got to activate him and then put him on the roster. That's all you got to do. I like Zonovan too. Great Lakes State guy. I do like Zonovan. It's just he'll be back as a practice squad guy. The other thing that was mentioned this morning too is, guys that we're cutting, I think that we're going to see a lot of them get picked up this year. We've already seen some of our guys get picked up or poached, as I like to call it. And I don't mean poach like they come and, poach our guys off the roster, but if they're sitting on the practice squad and another team comes and signed them off our practice squad, to me, that's poaching. I don't care if we cut them and someone picks them up. To me, that's still poaching because more often than not, you're trying to put those guys back onto the practice squad. A large majority of them anyway. And put it this way, I think the Lions play the game smart. They do it one of two ways. The guys that they cut first, they're trying to bring back because they want them to get through waivers the quickest to see if something happens. So you might see a flurry of cuts happen before the 27th. It could be Monday. It could be Sunday. We could see guys getting cut. They just have to be cut by the 27th. And I don't know the full rules. I should probably go read it because this all changed this year. If you cut guys on Sunday, can they clear waivers before Tuesday? Or do they have to wait
until all the cuts are done? See, I don't know that answer. And if someone smarter than me, which there's a lot of you, can find that answer, that would be great. And put it in a comment or in the Vox chat and let me know. But anyway, that's what I wanted to share for tonight. And now I want to go watch the Bears and the Chiefs. And we'll get back at it in the morning. There's not a whole lot to report right now. There's really no media happening. There's no press conferences happening. And there's nobody in camp. So camp is broke for the summer. And they'll be back at it next week. But it won't be camp anymore. It's going to be regular season time. Kingsley, Mike P., I do believe that he has a great opportunity. I'll leave it at that. But I think he has a great opportunity. He's been playing pretty well. Let's see how well he does on Saturday. And then I'll probably give you my 2 cents, obviously. Maybe Saturday night. I don't know. We'll see. All right, y'all. Go and Pride. Go Detroit Lions. We'll see you guys in the next one tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Rise and Grind morning show. Right back here. And Rock Down Detroit Lions. Take care.
Adam Schefter at ESPN says there's 275,000 people.
Well, that was some party in downtown Detroit. 775,000 people shattering the NFL draft attendance record.
This is the future. Evolution. This is the future. Evolution.